The tablet glowed blue in the dark kitchen at 3:17 a.m., casting shadows across Ethan Walker's weathered face. His wife's messages scrolled past like a knife turning in his chest. Can't wait to feel you inside me again tomorrow. Tell your wife you're working late. She's so pathetic, doesn't even know. Ethan set the tablet down with shaking hands. 23 years of marriage. 17 years raising a daughter who looked at him like he was dirt on her shoes. All of it built on lies while he worked double shifts at the foundry, coming home reeking of metal and sweat to an empty house and cold dinners. The front door clicked open. Melissa walked in, hair perfect, makeup fresh at 3 in the morning. She froze when she saw him sitting there. "Working late again?" Ethan asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Client emergency," she said, not even blinking. "You know how it is." "Yeah, I know exactly how it is." She walked past him toward the stairs, her heels clicking on the hardwood he'd installed with his own hands. "Don't wait up next time. You need your sleep for the factory." Ethan watched her disappear up the stairs. In 17 years, their daughter Lacey had never once asked him about his day. In 23 years, his wife had never once said she was proud of him, and now he knew why. He picked up the tablet again. The messages kept coming. His wife and her boss, Darren Reed, planning their next hotel meetup while Ethan paid for the house, the car, the life that gave them the freedom to destroy him. Something cold and sharp settled in his chest. Something that had been building for years, but had finally found its target. The next morning, Ethan drove to the logistics company where Melissa worked. He'd been there before for Christmas parties, company picnics where he stood alone by the food table while Melissa networked with people who looked through him like glass. The building was all steel and glass, modern and clean. Nothing like the foundry with its smoke-stained brick and broken windows. Ethan parked his rusted pickup between two BMWs and walked inside. "I'm here to see my wife," he told the receptionist. "Melissa Walker. She's in a meeting with Mr. Reed." Conference room B. Ethan knew where that was. He'd helped Melissa practice her presentations in their living room, listening to her rehearse the same corporate buzzwords she used to sound important at dinner parties. He found the conference room. Through the glass wall, he saw them. Melissa leaning across the table, her hand on Darren's arm, Darren with his perfect smile and $1,000 suit. They weren't discussing logistics. Ethan opened the door without knocking. "Honey," Melissa said, jumping back from Darren like she'd been burned, "what are you doing here?" "Thought I'd surprise you. See how those client emergencies are going?" Darren stood up, straightening his tie. He was taller than Ethan, younger, everything that looked good in a suit. "I think there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding." Ethan stepped into the room. His hands were dirty from the foundry, grease under his nails, calluses on his palms. Working man's hands. "Found some interesting texts on the old tablet." Melissa went pale. "Ethan, we need to talk about this at home." "How long?" Ethan asked. "Listen, friend," Darren said, moving around the table. "Why don't we all calm down?" Ethan's fist caught Darren in the mouth before the word friend fully left his lips. Darren stumbled backward, blood spattering his white shirt. Melissa screamed. Two security guards rushed in. Ethan fought them like a man with nothing left to lose, chairs flying, glass breaking. They got him down eventually, 3 grown men holding him to the floor while Darren pressed a napkin to his bleeding face. "Press charges," Darren said, his voice thick through swollen lips. "I want this animal in jail." Animal. That's what they saw when they looked at him. A blue-collar animal who belonged in a cage. The police took Ethan away in handcuffs. As they loaded him into the squad car, he saw Melissa crying in Darren's arms. Not for her husband, for her lover who'd been hurt. At home that evening, after spending 8 hours in county lockup, Ethan found divorce papers on the kitchen table. Melissa sat across from him, no longer bothering to hide her contempt. "I want half of everything," she said. "The house, your pension, the savings account. For 23 years of lying? For 23 years of being married to a man who comes home angry and bitter every single day. A man who embarrassed me at my workplace, who attacked my boss like some kind of caveman." Lacey walked into the kitchen, home from school. She looked at her father with disgust. "The whole school's talking about it. How you went psycho at Mom's work." "Your mother was having an affair," Ethan said. "So, look at you." Lacey gestured at his work clothes, his tired face, his rough hands. Look at this house. Look at our life. She deserves better than this. The words hit harder than the security guards had, his own daughter looking at him like he was trash. Pack your things, Melissa said. I want you out by tomorrow. Ethan looked around the kitchen he'd renovated, the house he'd worked double shifts to pay for, the life he'd built with his bare hands, all of it being taken away by people who saw him as less than human. No, he said quietly. What? I said no. Ethan stood up. This is my house. I've got the mortgage papers to prove it. You want to leave? There's the door. Melissa laughed. You think a judge will side with a violent man who attacks people at work? I'll tell them you hit me too. Did I ever hit you? No, but then don't lie. Ethan walked toward the stairs. Get yourself a lawyer. I'll get mine. The next morning, Ethan was fired from the foundry. 27 years of perfect attendance, overtime whenever they asked. Working holidays and weekends, none of it mattered after the arrest. He sat in his truck in the parking lot, watching other men go to work while he had nowhere to go. His phone rang. Sam, his work partner for the last 10 years. Heard what happened, Sam said. Sam had lost his leg in Iraq, walked with a cane but never complained. Want to grab coffee? They met at a diner downtown. Sam listened while Ethan told him everything. The affair, the divorce papers, his daughter's betrayal. What are you going to do? Sam asked. Don't know. Feel like I'm drowning. Sometimes drowning men find out they can breathe underwater. Sam stirred his coffee. My ex-wife tried to take everything too, until I found out about her boyfriend's gambling debts. What did you do? Fought smart instead of hard. There's a lawyer in Akron, Amber Chen, ex-Army JAG officer. She don't lose. That afternoon, Ethan drove to Akron to meet Amber Chen. Her office was small but organized, military precision in every detail. She was younger than he'd expected, maybe late 30s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Your wife filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences and domestic violence, Amber said, reading through the papers. She's asking for half the marital assets and spousal support. The domestic violence part is bullshit. I never touched her. But you did attack her boss. He was screwing my wife in my house, eating food I paid for, sleeping in sheets I washed. What would you have done? Amber leaned back in her chair. I would have gotten evidence first. Then I would have destroyed him legally, instead of getting arrested. She pulled out a legal pad and started taking notes. Tell me about the house. Who's on the mortgage? Both our names, but I paid every payment for 23 years. She contributed maybe $3,000 total. What about her job? How long has she been there? 5 years, started as a secretary, worked her way up to account manager. With help from her boss? Probably. Amber smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. We're going to need to prove that. And we're going to need to prove the affair started before she filed for divorce. If we can show she was planning this while conducting an extramarital relationship, it changes everything. How? Ohio's still a fault state for divorce. Adultery matters, especially when it involves workplace favoritism and fraud. What kind of fraud? Did your wife have access to your financial accounts? She paid the bills. Did she ever refinance the mortgage without your knowledge, Ethan? Just thought about it. Last year, she said rates drop, had me sign some papers, said it would save us money. We need those papers. If she forged your signature or misrepresented information on the application, that's mortgage fraud. A felony. For the first time in months, Ethan felt something other than despair. How much is this going to cost? Nothing up front. If we win, I take 30% of what we save you. If we lose, you owe me $500 for filing fees. They shook hands. Ethan noticed her grip was firm, her palm calloused. She'd worked for what she had too. Over the next 2 weeks, Amber worked magic with paperwork. She discovered that Melissa had indeed forged Ethan's signature on the refinance documents, inflating his income to qualify for a larger loan. She'd also opened a credit card in both their names without his knowledge, running up $8,000 in debt for clothes and jewelry. The mortgage fraud alone is enough to void the refinance, Amber explained. The house reverts to the original mortgage terms, which means it's entirely in your name since you made all the payments. What about the credit card debt? Since you never signed for it and have no access to the account, it's her responsibility. A loan. So I get the house. You get the house. She gets evicted, legally. The day of the eviction was cold and gray, typical November in Ohio. Ethan stood on his front porch, watching as Melissa and Darren arrived with a moving truck. The sheriff's deputy was already waiting for them. "Ma'am, you need to stop," the deputy said as Melissa tried to push past him to the front door. "This is a lawful eviction. You have no right to enter this property." "This is my house!" Melissa screamed. "I've lived here for 23 years. According to the court order, the mortgage was obtained through fraud. The property belongs solely to Mr. Walker. Ethan stepped forward, keys in his hand. "Sheriff's right. This is my house." "Always has been!" Melissa's face twisted with rage. "You bastard! You planned this!" "No, I worked for it. There's a difference." Darren stepped up beside her, his face still showing yellow bruises from their last encounter. "This isn't over." "Yeah, it is." Ethan looked at both of them standing there empty-handed. "You can pick up your things from the storage unit. I'll have them delivered tomorrow." Lacey came running out of the moving truck. "Dad, you can't do this to Mom. Your mother did this to herself when she decided to commit fraud." "I hate you!" Lacey screamed. "I'll never speak to you again." "Your choice." She got in the truck with Melissa and Darren. As they drove away, Ethan felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Peace. But it didn't last long. The next week, Amber called with bad news. Darren Reed filed a complaint with his company's HR department. "Claims you've been stalking him, sending threatening messages. I haven't contacted him once." "I know." "But he's also claiming workplace harassment, saying you've been calling his office and threatening his employees." "That's bullshit." "I know it is, but we need to prove it. And we need to go on offense before he builds a case against you." "What do you mean?" "I mean, we investigate him. Find out what kind of man your wife was really sleeping with." It took 2 weeks of digging, but they found gold. Darren Reed had been promoted 3 times in 2 years, each promotion coming after he started affairs with women in the company. Melissa wasn't his first victim. More importantly, they discovered that Darren was married, had been for 15 years. His wife lived in Cleveland, apparently unaware of her husband's activities in the small-town branch office. "We could anonymously tip off his wife," Amber suggested. "No, I want to handle this myself." "Ethan, be careful. You can't afford another arrest. I'm not going to hit him. I'm going to do something worse." The next Saturday, Ethan drove to Cleveland and found Darren's house. It was a mansion in a gated community, worth probably 10 times what Ethan's house was worth. He sat in his truck across the street, watching. At noon, a woman came out to get the mail, Darren's wife. She was older than Melissa, maybe 50, well-dressed but tired-looking. The kind of tired that came from years of not knowing why your husband worked so many late nights. Ethan got out of his truck and walked over. "Mrs. Reed," she looked up, startled. "Yes? My name is Ethan Walker. I think we need to talk." They sat on her front porch while Ethan showed her the photos Amber had legally obtained. Pictures of Darren and Melissa at restaurants, hotels, company events where they looked like a couple while their real spouses stayed. Home. Mrs. Reed studied each photo carefully. "How long?" she asked finally. "At least 2 years that I can prove." "I suspected, but I told myself I was being paranoid." She handed the photos back. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing. I just thought you deserved to know." "What are you going to do about it?" "Already done it. I left my wife, filed for divorce, got my house back." "And I should do the same?" "That's up to you, ma'am." "But a man who cheats with one woman will cheat with others." Mrs. Reed nodded slowly. "Thank you for coming here. It must have been difficult." "Not as difficult as finding out your whole life is a lie." That evening, Ethan's phone rang. It was a number he didn't recognize. "You son of a bitch!" Darren's voice slurred with alcohol. "My wife filed for divorce. She's taking everything. Good for her. This isn't over. I'll destroy you. You already tried. Didn't work out so well. I'll sue you for harassment, for stalking. With what evidence? I visited your wife once, told her the truth about her cheating husband. That's not illegal." The line went quiet for a moment. Then Darren laughed, bitter and drunk. "You think you've won something? You're still a nobody. A factory worker with dirty hands and a shitty truck. Even if you get your house, even if you beat me in court, you're still nothing." "Maybe. But at least I'm honest." Ethan hung up. 2 days later, Lacey called. She was crying. "Dad, can I come home?" What happened? Darren's wife kicked us out. Mom and I have been staying at a motel, but we can't afford it much longer. Darren won't even talk to her anymore. Where's your mother now? She's drinking. A lot. She says this is all your fault. What do you think? Lacey was quiet for a long time. I think maybe I was wrong about some things. You can come home, Lacey, but we're going to have some rules. Okay. No more disrespecting me in my own house. No more acting like I'm garbage because I work with my hands. And no more lies. I understand. Do you? Because this is your last chance. You're almost 18. You can choose to be part of this family or not, but you can't have it both ways. I want to come home, Dad. That night, Lacey moved back into her old room. She was different, quieter, more respectful. The entitled princess act was gone, replaced by something that looked like genuine remorse. I'm sorry, she said as Ethan helped her carry boxes upstairs. For the things I said, for choosing her over you. People make mistakes. What matters is learning from them. Why are you being so nice to me? After everything? Ethan set down a box and looked at his daughter. Really looked at her. She was thin, exhausted, wearing clothes that were wrinkled and dirty. Her eyes were red from crying. Because you're my daughter. That doesn't change, even when everything else does. She hugged him then, the first time in years. I love you, Dad. I love you too. But Melissa wasn't done fighting. Over the next month, she escalated her campaign of harassment. Anonymous phone calls at all hours, vandalism to his truck, keyed paint, slashed tires, threatening letters slipped under his door. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening. Ethan was having dinner with Lacey when someone threw a brick through their living room window. Attached to the brick was a note. You ruined my life, now I'll ruin yours. That's it, Ethan said, calling Amber. I want a restraining order. We'll need evidence that it's her. I'll get evidence. Ethan installed security cameras around his house. It took 3 days to catch her. The cameras showed Melissa sneaking across his yard at 2 a.m., spray painting liar on his garage door. The restraining order was approved immediately. Melissa was ordered to stay at least 500 yards away from Ethan's property and to cease all contact. But she violated it the same day. Ethan was at the grocery store when he saw her following him through the aisles. She stayed just far enough away to claim coincidence. But her presence was unmistakable. In the parking lot, she approached his truck. We need to talk, she said. You're violating a restraining order. I don't care. This has gone far enough. She looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled and stained. The perfect corporate image was gone, replaced by something desperate and dangerous. You destroyed my life, she said. My career, my relationship, my home. All because you couldn't handle the fact that I found someone better than you. I didn't destroy anything. You did that yourself when you decided to commit fraud and cheat on your husband. Darren was right about you. You're nothing. A pathetic factory worker who never deserved me. If I'm so pathetic, why did you stay married to me for 23 years? She didn't have an answer for that. Stay away from me, Melissa. Stay away from Lacey. Get help. Or what? Or you'll find out that even factory workers know how to use lawyers. That weekend, Ethan took Lacey to Cleveland to visit Amber's office. He'd been seeing Amber socially for a month now, carefully, quietly building something that felt real, in a way his marriage never had. Amber was different from Melissa, in every way that mattered. She was direct instead of manipulative, honest instead of scheming. She'd earned her law degree through the GI Bill after serving 3 tours overseas. She understood work, sacrifice, earning something through effort instead of expecting it to be given. I like her, Lacey said as they drove home from the visit. She's not like Mom. How so? She listens when you talk. She asks about your day and actually wants to hear the answer. Your mother used to do that too, in the beginning. Did she? I don't remember her ever caring about anything except work and appearances. Ethan thought about that. Had Melissa ever really cared, or had she just been better at hiding her contempt back then? People change, he said. Sometimes they become who they really were inside all along. Are you going to marry Amber? The question caught him off guard. Would that bother you? No, you deserve to be happy, Dad. Really happy, not just pretending to be happy. 3 months later, Ethan and Amber were married in a small ceremony at the courthouse. Sam was his best man, Lacey was the witness. No fancy reception, no corporate networking, just people who genuinely cared about each other. The peace lasted 6 weeks. Ethan came home from a job interview. He'd been working odd construction jobs since leaving the foundry, to find Amber's car vandalized. Every window smashed, tires slashed, home wrecker spray painted across the windshield. "It was Melissa," Lacey said when he found her in the kitchen. "I saw her from my bedroom window. She had a baseball bat." "Did you call the police?" "Already did. They're looking for her now." But Melissa had disappeared. She'd been evicted from the motel for non-payment, fired from her temp job for erratic behavior. She was living in her car, apparently, spending her days planning revenge against the man who'd exposed her lies. The harassment escalated. Dead animals on their doorstep, threatening phone calls to Amber's office, a break-in attempt that triggered the security system and sent Melissa running before the police arrived. "She's having a breakdown," Amber said after another sleepless night. "This level of obsession isn't rational. What do? We end it, permanently." "How?" "We make her face reality, all of it." Amber's plan was elegant and brutal. She'd discovered that Melissa had been telling people around town a different version of events. That Ethan had been abusive, that she'd left him to protect herself, that he was now stalking her with his new wife. "She's living in a fantasy where she's the victim," Amber explained. "We're going to force her to see the truth." They arranged for a confrontation at the old foundry where Ethan used to work. The building was scheduled for demolition, empty except for ghosts and memories. Amber sent Melissa a message through an intermediary, Lacey, asking her to meet there for a final conversation. "She thinks I'm coming alone," Amber told Ethan. "She thinks she can intimidate me into leaving you. It's dangerous. She's unstable. I can handle myself, and you'll be watching from the office upstairs. If things go wrong, call the police." The meeting was set for 8 p.m. on a Friday. Ethan positioned himself in the supervisor's office on the second floor, overlooking the main factory floor. He could see everything but couldn't be seen. Amber arrived first, waiting in the center of the empty space where the furnaces used to be. The building was cold, unheated, full of shadows and echoes. Melissa arrived 20 minutes late. She looked worse than ever, hollow-eyed, paranoid, wearing the same clothes she'd had on days earlier. "Where's my husband?" Melissa demanded. "Which one? The one you cheated on or the one who threw you out?" "Don't get smart with me. I know he's here somewhere." "This is between you and me, woman to woman." Melissa laughed bitterly. "You think you won something? You think taking my pathetic ex-husband makes you special? I think recognizing a good man when I see one makes me smarter than you. Good man? He's a factory worker, blue-collar trash. He'll never give you the life you deserve." "What life did you deserve? The one where you cheated and lied and stole?" "I did what I had to do to survive. Do you know what it's like being married to a man who comes home covered in grease every day? Do you know what it's like having friends who look down on you because of what your husband does? So you decided to destroy him instead of leaving him." "I decided to find someone better. Someone with ambition, with class. Someone else's husband!" Melissa's face twisted with rage. "You don't understand! You can't understand!" "You weren't there for 23 years, watching your life get smaller and smaller, watching opportunities pass by because you're tied to someone who'll never be anything more than what he already is. Did you ever think about what those 23 years cost him? Working double shifts to pay for your house, your car, your lifestyle? Never complaining, never asking for thanks? That's what men do. They work and provide. It's not special. It is when they do it for people who despise them. I never despised him. I wanted more. So you took more. From him, from Darren's wife, from everyone around you. I deserved more." The scream echoed through the empty building. Melissa was shaking now, her composure completely gone. "Did you deserve more than honesty?" Amber asked quietly. "More than loyalty? More than a man who would have given you everything if you'd just asked instead of stealing it? Stop talking. Did you deserve more than your daughter's respect? More than friends who cared about you instead of judging you? Shut up. Did you deserve more than a marriage built on love instead of convenience? Shut up! Melissa pulled a knife from her jacket. A kitchen knife, probably from the house she'd lost. Her hand was shaking, but her grip was firm. "You took everything from me," she said. "My husband, my home, my daughter. All because you couldn't stay away from what wasn't yours. I didn't take anything. You threw it all away." Liar. From the office upstairs, Ethan watched his ex-wife advance on his new wife with a weapon. Every instinct screamed at him to run downstairs, to fight, to protect Amber the way he should have protected his family years ago. But Amber had made him promise to stay hidden unless she was in real danger, and she didn't look afraid. "Put the knife down, Melissa." "No, I'm done being the victim in this story." "You were never the victim. You were the villain." The knife flashed toward Amber's chest. But Amber moved like the soldier she'd been, sidestepping the attack and grabbing Melissa's wrist. The two women struggled, the knife between them. Ethan was already moving, running for the stairs when he heard Melissa scream. By the time he reached the factory floor, it was over. Melissa was on the ground, the knife skittering across the concrete. Amber stood over her, breathing hard but unharmed. "She's hurt," Amber said. Melissa was holding her arm, blood seeping between her fingers. She'd cut herself during the struggle, not deeply, but enough to shock her back to reality. "I'm sorry," Melissa whispered, looking up at Ethan. "I'm so sorry. I know you are. I ruined everything. I ruined our life, our daughter's life, my life. I ruined everything good." "Yes, you did." She started crying then, really crying. Not the manipulative tears she'd used to get her way, but the deep, broken sobs of someone who'd finally seen the truth about herself. "What happens now?" she asked. Ethan looked at his ex-wife lying on the cold concrete, broken and defeated and finally honest. He felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no pity. Just emptiness where all the rage and hurt used to be. "Now you get help," he said. "Real help. And you stay away from my family." "Will you ever forgive me?" Ethan thought about 23 years of marriage, 17 years of raising a daughter together, all the small moments and large disappointments that had led them to this abandoned building. "I don't know, but I hope you find a way to forgive yourself." The police arrived 10 minutes later, called by Amber when Melissa had drawn the knife. Melissa was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon, but Amber didn't press charges. Instead, she agreed to drop the case if Melissa entered a residential treatment program for mental health and substance abuse. "She needs help more than punishment," Amber explained to Ethan later. "And we need peace more than revenge." 6 months later, Ethan got a job at a new manufacturing plant outside Akron. Better pay, better conditions, management that treated workers like human beings instead of equipment. Lacey graduated high school and decided to attend community college locally instead of the expensive 4-year school she'd always planned on. "I want to stay close to home," she told Ethan. "Learn to appreciate what I have instead of always wanting more." Amber expanded her law practice, taking on more cases for working families who'd been cheated by employers or spouses. She was good at her job because she understood what it felt like to fight for respect. On a warm evening in June, Ethan came home from work to find his wife and daughter in the kitchen, cooking dinner together and laughing about something on the radio. The house smelled like real food instead of takeout, like a home where people actually lived instead of just existed. "How was work?" Amber asked, kissing him hello. "Good. Productive." "How was your day?" She told him about a case she'd won, a client she'd helped, a victory that mattered to real people. Lacey told him about her classes, her part-time job at a local bookstore, her plans for the weekend. They listened to his stories too, really listened, asked questions, cared about the answers. It was such a simple thing, but Ethan had almost forgotten what it felt like to matter to the people around him. Later that night, after Lacey had gone to bed and Amber was reading case files on the couch, Ethan stepped out onto the back porch. The air was warm, full of the sound of insects and distant traffic. His house, his real home, surrounded him like a refuge he'd built with his own hands. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I'm 6 months sober. Thank you for making me face the truth. I hope you're happy." Ethan read the message twice, then deleted it. Melissa was trying to make amends, and he respected that. But her journey was her own now. He had his own life to live. He went back inside and found Amber curled up on the couch, case files scattered around her like battle plans. She looked up when he sat down beside her. "Everything okay?" "Everything's perfect." She smiled and returned to her work. Ethan watched her for a moment. This woman who'd seen him at his worst and chosen him anyway, who'd fought beside him instead of against him, who'd helped him remember what he was worth. Outside, snow began to fall even though it was June. Ethan blinked and looked again. Not snow, just the first fireflies of summer blinking like tiny stars in his backyard. He was home. The end.